Hey guys, it's A from Games Can Be Beautiful here, and now I'll be showing you how to do LODs with the landscapes in the world composition in Unreal Engine 4. So, first of all, let me remove the atmospheric fog that hides the pop in, pop out, just for example. And what we're going to do is that you're going to click, make sure that you're on the landscape that you want to use. So this one would be New World 1. And then you click Summon Level Details. Now, it popped up for me in the second tab, but I'll just move it over here. And you'll notice that it says LOD settings. And currently, by default, is 0. That means that by default, Unreal Engine makes everything the base mesh, right? Everything will always have the same number of triangles, and the best way it optimizes this is from using the level streaming. Although, if you zoom out, if you notice the slopes on these, you'll notice that they degrade the farther away you are. So it does have some built-in reduction of the shapes. But if you want to have more control over the level of detail from far away, especially if you have a lower, maybe your targeted platform requires fewer resources to be used, this would probably be a good way. Now, if you do this, this will allow you to specify more specifically what gets reduced far away. So what you do now is you got a number LOD, and then let's put, the max you can do is 4. So I'm going to put 3. Now, for example, for something, I'm just going to show you how far away before this unloads, as if you were here. Alright, so around here, this midpoint is when it starts unloading. But now, I'll show you guys why this matters soon. So now what we're going to do is we're going to generate 3 LODs. So this one's going to start at 10,000. The next one is going to start at, what was the distance for this? 50,000. Okay. So the next one's going to start at 10,000. This one 10,000. Next one at 15,000. And the other one at 20,000. And for each, you're going to reduce the number of the static mesh detail percentage by as much as you want. But for here, I'm just going to reduce it by, say 30 each. All right. And then there's a whole bunch of options that you can change. For example, texture size. Same thing is that if you watch my LOD video, you'll notice that it also lets you change what gets changed while you're doing this. Now, you might want to be a little careful using this auto-generate thing. You might want to consider making your own LODs, because I believe this uses a software built in called Simplygon or something. And you might actually need a license if you're going to be using this method. But for now, if you're just learning and you want to make really big open worlds, or if you're going to make a normal game, this is a good way to reduce the LODs. But that's just a warning that there might be some licensing issues that you might not be aware of, and you might want to look into them if you're using this particular auto-generate feature. That might be outdated data. I might have just read that in an older version of the documentation, so you might want to investigate that yourself. So I set this up at 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. And for each, I'm reducing the number of the detail, basically, right? So I'm going to generate LOD1. LOD2. LOD3. Right? And now you'll notice that I created an LOD folder for this world. So you want to keep this in the same file where you have all your other worlds. And if you go inside, you'll notice it made 3 different sets for the world. So it made 3 different materials, 3 different levels that it'll load in and out at each level of detail, and the static meshes, and a whole bunch of textures and stuff. Now, the reason why I placed myself here and we were checking to see what level distance it was loading in and out is because of the way that it detects it. So now that you made this distance, it'll increase the distance supposedly before it unloads. So this is technically you're adding to how far away before it completely unloads. So now I believe if I walk back, see, instead of unloading, if we went to this reduced version, right? So I'm in, this is base 0, this is LOD 0, this is LOD 1, LOD 2 might not be as noticeable, and LOD 3, right? So past LOD 1, so now it unloaded. So past LOD 1, it becomes very difficult to notice a difference in the number of polygons, especially using the landscape tool, especially if there aren't that many triangles being used over there. And the reason for this is that after a certain point, it becomes very obvious that the triangularization that you're doing to this. However, if you did want to go in and edit how many triangles were at each level, you can go here into the static meshes, as I taught you guys in the LOD for static meshes previously. And if you bring this up, you'll notice that you'll be able to change these numbers here. So this will be LOD1. So this is the default one. LOD2. Right? LOD2, instead of 100%, I'm going to make it 50. I'm going to make it, where's apply? Apply changes. And then LOD3. And I make this something really dumb, like 10. Apply changes. Now you'll notice part of the world just clipped off when I did that. And while we only have 11 triangles for this world, you might want that, which is extremely low number for a landscape, and it becomes very obvious. It sort of starts looking like a Nintendo 64 game. So you want to mess around with these numbers, and you want to make sure that you get the values that you want. Because now if I load in, it doesn't even feel like they're lowering in quality, because after this point here, right, LRD1, I'm technically here at lower percentage of triangles, and you can't even tell. And even worse, you can there's some weird morphing going on with the landscape over there. As you can see, the bottom edge of it is just white and it sort of looks like water. So you want to be careful with how much the percentage of the detail you're reducing. And most of the time for landscape, you're only reducing a small amount, but that small amount can help you. But you just don't want to reduce it too much like you would a static mesh from far away. That's why big world stuff, generally you want to do the level streaming and you want to hide them popping in, popping out, as opposed to reducing the level of detail, as I showed in the previous video with the level streaming distance. So now, yeah, and it just unloads at this point, right? So the other thing you could do is you could set up your own LOD here. If you know how to make your own height maps, you could make 3 different height maps with different LOD settings themselves. For example, on I forgot what the name of the software was, but it might have been World Creator or something. It's a very popular world creation tool. It might not be called World Creator, but if you use that, you can reduce the number of triangles in that manually, and then import it to here, and then sort of change it, and you won't have to go through the licensing issues. So yeah, this was a quick video on LOD settings in Unreal Engine 4. It might have very niche use, and you'll have to tweak some numbers before you get it right. And you want to make sure that you don't have stuff on the seams, even though everything is working together once everything works in segments like this, right? So anything on this side is going to change in LOD, but this side won't change. And if you make this side change, these by default will be different distances. So this one will most likely remain at LOD1. This one will still be LOD0 for a while before turning into LOD1. So you want to pre-plan where the parts of the level are going to be, and you want to be careful with the seams. But yeah, this was just a quick video on optimizing the LODs and streaming distances for Unreal Engine 4. Hope you guys enjoyed.